Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into the story of a band that, well, never stops changing.
That's right. We're talking about a group that seems to constantly challenge what people expect, even from their own biggest songs. They really became pioneers by doing the unexpected thing again and again.
Exactly. And that band is Radiohead. So our mission today is to really unpack their history, dig into some of those iconic albums, understand what makes their production so unique, and figure out why they're still so incredibly influential.
Yeah, we've got a lot to draw on fan ideas, historical accounts, all sorts of insights to try and get to grips with what makes Radiohead, well, Radiohead.
Okay, let's get into it. So the story kicks off back in 1985, Abingdon, Oxfordshire.
Hmm.
That's where the core lineup, Tom York, Johnny Greenwood, Colin Greenwood, Ed O'Brien, Philip Selway, they all met at boarding school.
Right, and they first started playing together as on a Friday, which is pretty literal, isn't it?
I thought so, yeah, apparently that was just their rehearsal day. Simple as that.
It is. And, Johnny Greenwood, who's such a defining part of their sound now, he actually started on keyboards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the story goes he kind of pretended to play at first, kept the volume down low. But once he switched to guitar, that classic lineup was pretty much set. They started playing local gigs, places like the Jericho Tavern.
So from playing pubs on a Friday to signing a major record deal, EMI comes along in 1991.
Yep, a 6-album deal. And EMI suggested the name change. So on a Friday becomes Radiohead.
Inspired by a Talking Heads song, I think.
That's the one. And then comes their debut album, Pablo Honey, in '93. Bit of trivia on the title.
Go on.
It actually came from a prank phone call, some comedy duo called the Jerky Boys.
No way.
Yeah, Tom York apparently confirmed they liked it because they thought of themselves as Mama's Boys. Kind of funny.
That is funny. But the album itself, Pablo Honey, it didn't exactly set the world on fire initially, did it? Especially back home in the UK.
No, not at all. It was seen as, just okay. Tolerable was one word used. But then there was Creep.
Ah, yes, Creep.
That song just exploded in the U.S., completely unexpected. Became this huge alt-rock anthem for the 90s.
But that success was kind of a mixed blessing, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A classic double-edged sword. Put them on the map, sold millions of copies of Pablo Honey eventually, but
But they kind of grew to hate it.
they definitely developed a complex relationship with it. Huge pressure to write another Creep. This grueling 2-year tour followed.
Yeah.
It led to a lot of self-doubt, exhaustion. Tom York famously disliked playing it live later on.
Said he wasn't in that emotional space anymore, right?
Yeah.
Which you can understand. Artists evolve.
Exactly. And it wasn't just emotional baggage. There was a legal battle, too.
Oh, yeah.
The Hollies sued because Creep sounded similar to their song, The Air That I Breathe.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, ended up giving 2 of the Hollies writers a credit on Creep. So all that baggage, that pressure from Pablo Honey and Creep, it really fueled what came next.
Which was the My Iron Lung EP in 94.
Precisely. And that title, My Iron Lung, it feels like a metaphor for Creep, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
It kept them alive commercially, but it also confined how people saw them.
There's that lyric, too. This is our new song, just like the last one. A total wasty time, My Iron Lung. Pretty blunt.
Absolutely nails that feeling of frustration. And all that energy, that frustration, it poured into the next full album, The Bends, in 1995.
And the Bends felt like a huge step up.
Oh, massive improvement. This is where they really started to find their own distinctive style, moving away from that grunge-light sound of the debut.
And this is where Nigel Godrich first comes into the picture, right? Though maybe not as the main producer yet.
Exactly. He was an assistant engineer on the My Iron Lung EP, worked under John Leckie, who actually produced the Bends.
Yeah.
But yeah, that relationship started there and obviously became hugely important later on.
The Bends did really well critically, didn't it? Songs like Fake Plastic Trees, Just, Street Spirit, they were big hits in the UK.
Yeah, it properly established them, showed they were much more than just the Creep band. People started paying serious attention.
There's a crazy story from that tour, too, isn't there? About getting robbed.
Oh yeah, in Denver, Colorado,
Yeah.
their tour van got stolen. Instruments, gear, everything.
What do you even do then?
Well, Tom and Johnny just grabbed some acoustic guitars and played the gig anyway.
Incredible. That's dedication.
Totally.
Yeah.
Speaks volumes. So, okay, they've found their feet, established themselves, and then comes 1997. OK Computer.
The big one. Many people's favorite, often called their masterpiece.
It's just a phenomenal record. It completely blew open what they were doing songwriting-wise.
Yeah.
Experimenting with structures, sounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's consistently ranked as one of the all-time greats, not just for the 90s.
And the influences were really interesting too. You hear bits of Miles Davis, like Bitches Brew, but also the Beatles, even Ennio Morricone, the film composer,
Definitely. And where they recorded it played a part too. This place called St. Catherine's Court.
which was like a historic mansion, maybe even haunted.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, it had this really unique atmosphere that seeped into the album's sound. That kind of sweeping, slightly eerie vibe you get sometimes.
You can hear that experimentation clearly on tracks like Paranoid Android, that sprawling three-part epic.
Yeah, Tom said the inspiration was seeing someone completely lose it over a spilled drink in a bar, taking that small moment and making it huge.
And exit music for a film was literally for a film, right? Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet.
That's the one. Captures that feeling of lovers needing to escape.
Uh,
Then you have No Surprises, which sounds deceptively sweet, but it's about this numb, suffocating life.
yeah, pretty dark themes wrapped in beautiful melodies. And there's that vocal thing Tom does,
Oh, yeah.
where he sometimes holds one note right at the climax while the music swells around him. It lets the complexity of the band really come through.
That's a great observation. It's like he steps back slightly to let the whole arrangement breathe.
But the tour for OK Computer? That sounded brutal.
It was. There's that documentary, Meeting People is Easy. It really captures how draining it was. They came out the other side totally exhausted, kind of depressed, anxious.
Quite the paradox, right? Huge artistic success, but personally crushing. Tom started using that Michael Stipe line, didn't he? I'm not here, this isn't happening.
Yeah, as a coping mechanism. And, reflecting the album's themes about technology and disconnection, they were actually one of the first big bands to launch their own website that same year, Radiohead.com.
Ahead of the curve even then, which kind of sets up the next big shift. Because after the global triumph of OK Computer, what do?
They tear it all down. Kid A 2000.
Talk about unexpected. This huge pivot into electronic music, ambient sounds, almost abandoning the guitars that had defined them.
It was radical. Influences like Aphex Twin, Bjork, even classical composers like Penderecki. It was a complete U-turn.
And people were baffled at first.
Yeah. Baffled, frustrated. A lot of critics really flammed it initially, called it pretentious, self-indulgent, even career suicide.
It's funny looking back because now Kid A is often seen as being right up there with OK Computer. Maybe even better by some.
Absolutely. It underwent this massive reevaluation. It just took time for people to catch up, I think. It forced listeners to rethink what Radiohead was.
It really shows how sometimes truly groundbreaking art isn't immediately understood. The audience needs to adjust.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it wasn't just Kid A. The following year, 2001, they released Amnesiac.
Which came from the same recording sessions, right? Like a companion piece.
Exactly. They call them twins, but with different feelings. Kid A felt more spacious, maybe colder, while Amnesiac was described as closer, more claustrophobic.
You hear that difference, like the national anthem on Kid A with that crazy free jazz horn section.
It's like a traffic jam, yeah.
Compared to something like Pyramid Song from Amnesiac, which is so haunting and intimate. They apparently decided Kid A shouldn't be a double album, so Amnesiac got its own release.
Gave both albums space to breathe, which was probably the right call. This whole period just cemented their commitment to following their own path, regardless of expectation.
Okay, so moving on from that electronic deep dive. Next up is Hail to the Thief in 2003. And this was significant contractually too, wasn't it?
It was. This was the last album on that original 6-album deal with EMI. So after this, they were essentially free agents. You kind of sense that freedom on the record.
How so? What did it sound like?
Well, it felt like a bit of a synthesis. It brought back some of the more direct guitar work from their earlier stuff, but blended it with the electronic textures they'd explored on Kid A and Amnesiac.
And lyrically, there was a political edge, people said.
There was definitely a mood reflecting the times. Post 9/11, the rise of nationalism. Tom York acknowledged those influences were there. In the background, the feelings were there, as he put it, even if he pushed back against it being overtly political.
And the title itself, Hail to the Thief, that was pretty pointed.
Yeah, it came from an anti-George W. Bush protest chant after the 2000 U.S. election. But it also apparently nodded to the fact the album leaked online before its official release.
Ah, interesting double meaning. How was it received?
Kind of mixed, actually. Some found it a bit sprawling, maybe unfocused or messy. Others really loved its energy and its willingness to engage with those contemporary anxieties.
Right. So after fulfilling the EMI contract, the band takes a bit of a break.
Yeah, there was a bit of a hiatus. Members started doing more solo stuff. Tom released The Eraser. Johnny Greenwood really kicked off his film scoring career, starting that amazing collaboration with Paul Thomas Anderson.
And then 2007, In Rainbows, which wasn't just an album, it was an event.
Oh, absolutely. Groundbreaking stuff. They announced it just 10 days before it came out. No traditional build-up.
And the release method, pay what you want.
Really?
On their own website. Nobody that big had really done that
It
before.
was revolutionary. A direct challenge to the music industry model at the time, especially with piracy being such a huge issue. It created this direct connection with fans.
Did it work financially?
Hugely debated, but yeah, it seemed to. Loads of people downloaded it, apparently over 1 million on day one, and many did choose to pay. And when the physical version came out later, it still topped the charts worldwide. It showed trust in your audience could actually pay off.
And the music itself, In Rainbows, felt different again. Warmer, maybe.
Definitely. Critics often call it their most intimate, welcoming human album. It has this gorgeous sonic warmth to it. Just sublime.
Okay, so after that game-changing release, what comes next? The King of Limbs in 2011.
Right. And with King of Limbs, they dove back into electronics, but in a different way. Very focused on loops, complex rhythms, IDM, intelligent dance music influences.
Some people found it a bit difficult, maybe droning.
It was definitely more rhythmically complex and less immediate than In Rainbows. It divided listeners a bit again. Also released directly via their website, continuing that model.
And then A Moon-Shaped Pool in 2016.
A really beautiful record. Quite serene, quite melancholic. And Johnny Greenwood's string arrangements are just stunning on this one. He'd really honed that craft through his film work.
There was a lot going on personally for the band around this time too, wasn't there? Influencing the mood?
Sadly, yes. Nigel Godrich's father passed away during the making of it, and Tom York went through an amicable separation from his long-term partner, Rachel Owen.
Who designed the Pablo Honey cover way back when?
That's right. And very tragically, she passed away from cancer shortly after the album was released. So there's a real weight of sadness underpinning some of that beauty.
You can feel it. And this album famously included songs they'd had kicking around for years, right? Like True Love Waits.
Yeah. That song had been part of their live set in different forms for like 20 years. Fans had been waiting for a studio version forever, and they finally got it in this incredibly beautiful, fragile arrangement.
Amazing. And wasn't there a cool story about the Daydreaming video, the Paul Thomas Anderson one?
Oh, yeah. Fans started theorizing that the video, where Tom walks through all these different doors and locations, represented different stages of the band's past.
Yeah.
And Johnny Greenwood basically confirmed it. He saw a fan's detailed breakdown online and called the theory interesting. Pretty rare to get that kind of validation from the band.
That's very cool. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the band, the albums, but we need to talk about Nigel Godrich properly.
Absolutely. You can't really talk about Radiohead sound without talking about Nigel. He's often called the sixth member or their secret weapon.
He just seems to understand their vision on this incredibly deep level.
Totally. On an ethereal level, as someone put it. And he helps shake that distinctive Radiohead sound, which is often described as very clean and separated.
What does that mean exactly?
It means you can really hear each individual instrument, each vocal line, very clearly in the mix. It's not all mushed together. Every element has its own space. It gives their records this amazing clarity, this real hi-fi quality.
It's a very deliberate choice, right? Compared to maybe a band going for a more raw, lo-fi sound.
Exactly. Think of maybe The Strokes, who intentionally make things sound a bit rougher, more garagey. Radiohead and Godrich go for precision, for clarity. But it's crucial to say it's not just Godrich.
Right. The band themselves are deeply involved in the sound.
Massively.
Yeah.
Their arrangements are incredibly detailed. They experiment constantly. They're apparently ruthless in the studio, discarding tons of material to get to the final thing.
Tom York had that quote about writing a Radiohead song being like, finding the right mathematical equation to represent an emotion.
That sums it up perfectly, that mix of art and almost scientific precision.
And Godrich himself has quite the pedigree. Didn't he learn from John Leckie?
He did, who produced the Bends.
Yeah.
And Leckie learned from Phil Spector. So there's this lineage of production expertise there.
Wow. And Godrich has done amazing work outside Radiohead, too. Beck's Sea Change, Paul McCartney, Air.
Yeah, he's got an incredible resume. Definitely one of the defining producers of his generation.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, what a journey. From this accidental hit single with Creep
to becoming these absolute pioneers of experimental art rock, constantly changing their music, their sound, even how they release their albums.
They just never stood still. Always evolving, always willing to take risks, break the rules.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it? Their whole career is built on defying expectations.
Hmm.
What does that unwavering commitment to their own artistic vision, even if it meant confusing or losing some listeners along the way, tell us about what real success means in art?
That's a great question. And maybe in a world that often feels saturated with predictable stuff,
Yeah.
how can embracing that kind of unexpectedness, that risk taking, lead to work that actually lasts, that really
And
resonates?
tied into that, how have they managed to stay together for so long as a cohesive unit while also giving each other space for all those solo projects and side ventures? It's quite remarkable.
It really is something for us all to think about.
Definitely a truly fascinating band.
Absolutely. So we definitely encourage you, if you haven't already, dive into their discography, pick an album you don't know well, or if you're really keen, check out some of the fan communities online, like the Radiohead Public Library website. There's a whole world of discussion out there.